Welcome, everybody. Sorry we're running a little bit late. We're having some issues with the video. So welcome. This is Maria Bearcat. This is the Small Business Goal Setting and Digital Marketing series. We are going to jump right in today. A little bit of housekeeping items. This session is recorded. You are and will get access to the recordings. All attendees will be on mute, so you won't be able to, I won't be able to hear all the noise in the background. And we're trying to keep it to 30 minutes or less. So the questions, I am sending them to you. The answers, because we're trying to keep this short and sweet and right to the point. So that's really important. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Maria Bearcat. I have been marketing for 20 years. I've been in digital marketing since that first iPhone hit my hands in 2007. I own a digital strategy company, and I work with small businesses. I believe very solidly that businesses, especially small businesses, are what make America so wonderful. So my goal is to teach you, and hopefully you will incorporate this. I appreciate some of the feedback from some of you that you've been sending me about the different things that have changed. So I really appreciate it. The goal setting sheets, all of your downloads are at designbearmarketing.com/resources. And I encourage you to download these materials. If you're having any problems with it, just let me know, and I'm happy to help you. Today, we're reviewing our goals as usual. We're talking about content strategy. So I'm going to give you a content strategy checklist. I will send that in the follow-up. And we're going to do number one on that list, which is content goals, what it is that you need to establish that. And then we're going to review our critical questions of the week. So don't overlook these documents. You know they're very, very important. For those of you that were here in the beginning and have done them, you understand how important they are. Writing down goals is essential to achieving them. It's just the way that it works. And I'm going to be getting back to this with a different way, but we're going to kind of work on that a little today. Content. Consumers see an average of 362 marketing messages a day, but only notice 86 of them. So that's not really very much if you think about it, all the things that come into us. And I actually would say that it's a lot more. So you have to have goals here. You have to have content goals, or it's just noise among all the other noise. And if you're not getting people calling you, if you're not doing these things, then you need more, you need better, you need them in different places. We're trying to compete, and it takes time. Just remember that you can't just one day say, well, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do this and this and this, and then you're going to get 100 customers. It is a process, and it takes time. Digital is fast, but it's also, when you consider all of this, it's hard for people to find you. But once they find you, and once you find your voice in there, you are in that 21st century marketing process. And that's the key aspect. So here's our strategy checklist. So the first thing is you have to inventory what you have. We're going to talk about that. You have to have goals. Why are you creating the content? That's a business goal. Content goal is, what do you want your content to do? The call to action attached to it, right? Who is your content speaking to? It cannot speak to everyone. It just cannot. What advantage can you gain from viewing the content of your competition? And there's a process for that and a checklist for that. And then the formats, what types of content can you create? So it's budgetary, it's team related, and maybe it's product and service related. Maybe some things don't work for you that work for other companies, and maybe you could try something that you had never tried before, and you might get a really cool result. So you don't really know that. So that's your formats. There's content distribution. Where are you going to put it? You don't have to put content where everybody else is putting content. You have to put content where your customers live, where they are, where they go. And that requires going back to who your audience is. Because if you don't know who they are and where they are, how can you possibly put it in a place where they're going to see it? And then implementation. Who's going to produce it? Right? So this is the problem when you're a solopreneur and you're the only person doing everything, and you're managing your website and you're managing the business. It's very hard to do, but there are tricks that you can get. And then finally, measurement. We always have to measure every single thing that we do. There's analytics everywhere, because how do you know it's working? And sales is not always a true indicator of content strategy, because content takes longer to produce. It takes longer to embed. Once you become a thought leader, then you can say, yes, our sales are growing and growing, but you still need to measure the content, and you need to know what people are looking at and if it's important, if they can do it. So where do we start? We start with inventory, right? You have to put everything. Anything printed is considered content. So anything you're putting in your boxes, anything that's on your website, any articles that you have written or were written about you, all of your posts are content. And you can download the analytics on them. You don't need to print every single thing, and you can review it. And your brochures, even your business cards, every single thing is content, and you need to take a look at it before you start the process, and you need to assess it, unless you're doing that already and now you're at the point where it's like, okay, what do we do? But I want you to remember 2 core objectives before we get started. Our goal always is customer education. Remember the buyer's journey. How can you educate people through awareness, through research, through purchase, through experience, through advocacy? An educated client finds you, puts you on that short list, makes a decision to be your customer, then experiences you. And you need content for that, remember? You have to educate them how to use it or what to do with it, how to update it, how to put it together. And then you want them to talk about you and be your advocate. And that as well requires some kind of content. So remember that. Number 2 is engagement. You want them to engage with the content that you have. You want them to download it, like it. You want them to respond. You want them to give you an opinion on it. So this is what humanizes everything behind the big screen, right? They want to know that there are people back there, right? You're not Coca-Cola. You're not IBM. You don't need to be a big conglomerate. You're a person who runs a business. You have beliefs and dreams and hopes just like people do. They want to buy from the person, not the brand, all right? It's a delicate match. You have to build that brand, and you also have to be somebody. So let's start here. How do we engage people, right? So you have entertain, inspire, convince, and educate. So this is kind of a nice little chart that kind of shows you the things that people look at. Because this is our advertising in the 21st century. We want to enjoy what it is that we're looking at, right? If you'll notice, websites have changed. They become more graphic and more visual. So should your writing, and so should the things that you do. And we want you to have fun. We want you to have games and quizzes and competitions and drawings. And we want you to produce infographics. And we want you to have the traditional press releases and things like that. But you also have to get into the convincing part of it, and you have to begin to create content. So this is really your goal in here, is how do you put together a checklist and a case study? What do you do for that? How do you do it? All of that kind of stuff. So if you can align this to certain goals, then your marketing efforts are going to grow. And that's just what happens. So all of this stuff might not be applicable to your business, but I would say most of it is. So you might never get a celebrity endorsement to be up there to inspire you, but you are going to get reviews, and that's like a rock star, because people want to know what's in there. First goal is always to develop your brand awareness. Awareness is the #1 goal of everything. If they don't know you're out there, how they're going to buy from you, right? It's the most common goal, and it's the easiest thing to do, but most people fail at this. You want to give people something that they say, who wrote this? I'm interested in this. What's going on? Here's a different way of looking at this, right? So some examples of content. We're not going to go into a lot of detail, but I just want you to know, this is where the funny stuff comes from, the entertaining, your personality quirks, right? You can write ebooks, and you can do webinars, and you can do infographics, data sheets, SlideShare decks. which is really just a PowerPoint, to let people know what it is that's about your industry, that's about your products and services. Is there a different way to use it? How did people used to use it, and how are they using it today? Everything changes. Even education changes. You can't compare a playground on a preschool from 20 years ago that you can today. First of all, no one would go. Things change, right? Second goal, you want to drive people to your website. People don't find your website, you drive them to the website. Unless someone's actually giving you that www address, how would they know that you're there? Google is not going to slap that up at the top. We have to put something else in Google first in order for your website to come up, and then that content becomes important. This is how you nurture the relationship. This is how that sales process actually happens, is through driving people to the website. Content. So this is where social media really comes to play. It's links that go back to your website. It's videos maybe from YouTube or wherever you're publishing it on. And it's those blogs and articles with calls to action, which we'll talk about later in the weeks, how to add that in, an opt-in page or a landing page. We will talk about that in more detail. These are just different ways that you can add that in. The third thing is you have to have leads, right? They have to come into your business. They have to call you. They have to email you. They have to get more information, right? You have to give them a reason to contact you and to put you on that list. That's where all of the other parts of the checklist are going to come into play. Looking at what your competitors are doing and filling that niche. They're all doing this, this, and this. Why can't you do something different? Just like if you were on the call last week, we did a great slide about bakers and what makes that different. So we are going to go into that. Content that you could use for this. Again, ebooks, case studies, and white papers. A white paper is really just an online article that you basically write that's not specifically about your company, but it's about whatever it is that you're selling. So if you're selling some kind of service, you're going to talk about that. I do personal coaching, but you're not going to talk about you. You're going to talk about the industry and the importance of it. You can also have demos if you have products that you sell. Checklists, worksheets, courses. These are amazing things that businesses all around the country are doing, right? So if you're selling antiques and you're how to refinish it, that's a course, right? It could be a worksheet, it could be a checklist, it could be a demo, it could be a video, all of that stuff, right? So you're kind of showing people how to do the things that they need to do. And then you have to take that content and there has to be a way for it to convert it into a customer. So this is a little interesting because this is where your website comes into play. If your sales page is not easily understood, you cannot convert someone to a customer. If they're sitting there in your shopping cart and they don't understand what to do, then something's wrong with your content, right? You can't possibly convert people to a sale if they don't understand what to do. And this is really important. There's also content in here. And you know what? I just realized I missed one here, is the frequently asked questions, your tech support, all of that kind of stuff. You want to get people to contact you from here, right? If you don't understand this, just message me. If you don't understand that, do this. You could do an infographic on your sort of frequently asked questions. This is how you do this. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. And you can never have enough instructions for people. Never. Because everybody has a different computer. Maybe they're on a small phone. Maybe they got a new phone. I got a new phone. I hate it. I'm trying to figure it out. It's totally different than what I've always had. So even though I can navigate technical things, sometimes I might need some directions to help me out. Fifth thing is improving retention. So you might, I'm using a different word here, but advocacy in that buyer's journey. You want them to be loyal to you. You want them to rebuy from you. You want them to talk about you. And you have to nurture that relationship. It can't just be a one and done kind of thing. What's going in your box when you send it, right? What are you giving them? Are you blogging regularly and inviting people to read it? Are you talking about the industry, the trends that are going on, right? So things change, fashion change, colors change, business change, schools change, everything changes. You should be talking about the changes in that industry. And you should be offering things to customers who are really loyal to you. That 80-20 rule really comes into play here. You should offer everyone the ability to be a part of your special customer group, but especially the ones that are your best customers. You should be giving them. And you need to think about this. But all of this is in written form. So when you're pulling all that content together in the beginning, then you need to look to see what it is that you're giving them. Does it look the same? Is it branded? Is it easily understood? How could we revise this? And I don't care if you have a trifold brochure that you have used for 10 years and you still have a whole box of them. If it's not giving you and talking about you the way you are today and with what you're doing today, then you need to do something else. You know, don't print 500 brochures. Go to Staples and print 100 and see how people respond to them. You may be very, very surprised on what you're doing. So this is really the ultimate goal of everything that we do, is to improve the retention of our customers and keep them there. I want you to remember this form, right? This is a download. It came in the beginning, you know, working through each stage. So as we go through this content strategy checklist, we're going to be addressing all of this stuff, right? We're going to talk about buyers next week, who they are, what they need, what are they thinking, and all that kind of stuff. But I want you to start off this week. I want you to write down every question that they ask, right? And I know some of you on this call, and I'm going to say, if you did this last year or 2 years or however long ago you did it, you need to do it every single year, because the world changes and products change, the industry changes, customers change. You really need to sit down with your sales team and you need to determine what it is that people are asking at every single stage, right? How do they find you? Are there any questions there? That's, you know, where they come in. You need to make this list. This is going to be the ultimate list to help you write content at every stage, including your website, including the stuff that goes inside the box. You know, thank you for being my customer. What do they ask you after they get your stuff? Well, that needs to go on that little thank you letter. Here's my frequently asked questions. Here's this, here's that. If you need help, call me. Very important that you always have this printed and ready. And everyone in your business should know about it. Reflection. This is a very important part of everything that I do. And it's important for you to do this, to turn off your phone, turn off your computer, go for a walk, and think about what it is that you need to do this. So your starting point is to think about what your customers need at each stage in that journey, right? So part of it is questions, but another part of it is, how are they going to find us? Why would they want to find us? You've been doing your business forever. You know what you need. You need to take off your hat and you need to step out and you need to look clearly at new customers. Why do they walk by your shop and not come inside? What is it about it? Go outside and look inside. Take a look. It could be something as silly as parking. It could be something as silly as your sign. It could be a million things and you don't really know. But you have to start off by thinking about what they need at each stage in that journey. And that's what starts this content strategy off, is really to evaluate what you have and are you addressing those needs. And then we will go through and we will figure that out. Weekly goals are essential. Number one, how many new emails did you add to your list this week? You should know that. You should know that. Your salespeople should know that. You should be adding them in, adding them in, adding them in. It's very important. What were your total sales of the week? What didn't sell? What is consistently not selling? Why? Could you repackage it? Could you talk about it differently? Is there a different way that you could do it? Maybe it needs an article written about it. Why people really need this thing. You need to look at that kind of stuff. Did every employee know what's going on? Are they aware of what you're doing? Are they a part of this process? If they're not, then you can't grow. You cannot possibly have people on your team who are not a part of the marketing. That is what the 21st century has given us. Everyone on your team, from shipping, receiving, sales, everything, they're all on your team. They're all part of it. How many new fans did you add this week on your Instagram? How many new fans did you add on your Facebook? How many new fans did you add on Twitter? If you're on Snapchat, where are they coming from? What was your most popular piece of content? So this is the question that you are going to be focused on throughout the next several weeks, because we want to find out what your most popular piece of content is. When you're reviewing it, I want you to pull out what are the top 10 pieces of content that you have had in the last 6 months. Why? Why were they popular? Maybe it was time to a holiday. Maybe it was Christmas. So remove Christmas out of it. The rest of the year, you need sales the rest of the year. You can't just have sales one time of the year. You need to look at that. Who is your most engaged followers? So these are the people we're going to talk about next week, who your customers are, right? Some customers don't buy a lot of stuff, but they talk about you a lot. You really have to treat those customers very, very well. You have to have a special club for them. How are you improving your customer service? This process right here and right now is a customer service process, because by you educating yourself, by you getting your team educated, you are helping to educate your customers. And if you have been a part of the buyer's journey process at all in your business, you know that that's the ultimate goal. So I want to thank you. I didn't type in what's next week, but next week we're going to go back to that checklist, and we are going to work through it week by week. I will send you the checklist in the follow-up email. I look forward to getting your questions and helping you to put the buyer's journey into process in your business, no matter what your business is. If I can't help you, I probably know somebody who can. And I really want to thank you so much for being here every single week. I appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you next week.